Today is a historic day in the world. Not only is this the first day of 2024, as you can see by the posting of this video, that will become historic as itself as the days rolls on, but also for the fact that Mickey Mouse is free. Well, actually not really, as we found out by digging the truth of this new problem in Disney's second century of existence. Because for this video, I just wanted to go over this short and the pointless fact of Steamboat Willie entering the public domain after so many years of Disney extending its copyright for the fact of the first official Mickey Mouse appearance in 1928. The reason I say it's pointless is because of the fact it's Disney we are talking about in this situation, where any usage of the public domain of this particular cartoon that Walt made that started all of this is just futile if Disney still owns the trademark for the character of every iteration he's had ever since, including this very one. Like anything after his initial appearance is still Disney's own property, and of course the mascot and face of the corporation itself, where there really isn't much we can do about it. However, this is also the time to appreciate that at least the copyright law will not be extended, as Disney is still responsible for such extensions ever since, when it was supposed to enter such a domain a couple of times in its past, even during Walt's time alive, and then after when the company became a proper company, and so on. And that's why I'm going to be cautious still testing the waters, where most of this video will still feature clips from Steamboat Willie, while still within itself other Mickey Mouse clips. But overall, we should still cheer on for such a legacy to be in the public's hands to celebrate that rich history that got us here, especially for someone as big as a Disney fan as myself. I know most people who watch me, and I myself, do have massive problems with them, especially the abuse of the copyright extensions they have been doing, that they should be held to the sword on that egregious error, but I still support the storytelling they've been able to do in the past and the people who actually work who care and are still capable of doing so, but just sad it had to end up this way with a corporation who likes to protect their own self-interest. A way where everyone is still going to be scared or confused by what this new era brings when Disney still fully utilizes this version of the character, thinking in terms of their own opening logo for their own animated films that does use Steamboat Willie and the merch that they own throughout the parks and so forth. Where now, many people can create at least several different versions surrounding this particular mouse in that 1928 cartoon, like create a abysmal sad excuse of a movie with how Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey turned out, because that original work also entered the public domain 2 years earlier in 2022, and Disney also had the rights to the character since 1966 and still retains their own iterations of that very character that they created, where it just feels like nothing big will ever really come from this, like if people expect they were sticking it to Disney monetizing their own versions of Mickey Mouse. Because even while you can prove you can create things around it like Winnie the Pooh, it just doesn't mean that it will make a huge impact if the thing is horrible and a dud where people will just continue remembering the bigger company's character instead, because that has already been a part of the culture for so long. And we know this isn't the end when they all say over the years more characters will be a part of this, especially Disney's own with Donald Duck and Goofy, who we all still know Disney uses to the extreme in their own brand, where it still will be pointless to use whatever we can find when they virtually have the control over the characters that most people associate them with. Where it's just useless to say that this changes anything at all when it actually doesn't. If it did, maybe Disney would have been more worried to pressure another extension for that cartoon nowadays, but it just didn't, like many other videos I've watched say that, especially the ones by lawyers who know what the hell they're actually talking about, just seeing how Disney is a massive company that doesn't even need to worry about that when they have such a plethora of other uses of the character and new characters that many people already associate with. Because even as stated by them, the Mickey that audiences are more familiar with will continue to play a leading role as the global ambassador for the Walt Disney Company. So there's nothing you could do about to change that or stick it to the man in that situation other than creating art like Walt Disney and Ub Iwerks did almost 100 years ago when such a cartoon was released. Just using an interpretation or adaptation like Disney has been doing with these various characters and stories we all know that they have adapted from the public domain or actually purchased themselves to actually use. Which, to those who actually criticize Disney on that part, I suggest you reevaluate what you're saying when so many other people have been able to do such adaptations over the years with such characters, because that's what we do. We just know them because Disney was good at actually making a story adaptable for the modern era that we all know. Without them in this part, we wouldn't have known they existed because those stories were based on something else at the time, right? Well, that's my interpretation because, again, I am a Disney fan and will shill for them in certain situations because that's who I am and want want to be a part of the company, but just how I feel of how stories have been adapted over the years in so many different ways. And it's just one where you think the people who adapt such work in the public domain will be where people can create their own animation around the character that celebrates it, rather than, you know, a dumb slasher movie that feels like it has no purpose other than making a cheap buck off an idea of turning beloved characters into horror monsters, which you kind of can with the older Mickey Mouse if you think about that rough animation in the world now that I see it. But instead of talking about all that jargon we have too many issues with, I just thought I'd leave the rest of this video with a positive celebration of Mickey Mouse and what he represents to our modern culture as a symbol of animation's progress and history that Walt really started, as he likes to say. A symbol of modern pop culture, where with Mickey, we truly got the value that properties have in our own lives for better or for worse, and what we can do as humans to create art applying to any other animal or creature who may seem different. It is the amalgamation of everything that can either be good or bad in any interpretation that impacts what we can do with the choices we make, as a mascot and symbol of a big corporation, or just an idea of a character that's beloved as children. And maybe in this new Uncharted era, we can make something out of this, within the limitations we have in the public domain, where when one work is up and allowed for the use of the other, just like Disney has done retelling stories in ways that made them relevant, and how others generally know about them, will be a symbol and tribute to the power we can create as storytelling that makes us happy and laugh or whatever. A power that has such great potential that we can use to the best of our ability. A simple landmark that I just wanted to celebrate in my own way within the new year of a cartoon that surely changed the world. The one that actually began Disney that we all know today within its own animation and the entertainment medium that has grown in so many different shapes that we all love. Just fun to look at history a lot different in the 1920s than it is now to the 2020s with the way we connect to the world. That all of us now have access to see or use it in some way with something like this that people could only get in select areas for that time. Technology that constantly changes and breeds the challenge for those who are born in this new era. For the fact that Disney started 100 years ago and is still here today is nothing short of an accomplishment, no matter how much you think about it, when so many others have faded for that same better or worse fate. Where it's just still up to us as a society to decide what happens to the next 100 years in the same time frame with such an event happening this very day. Will the new art come out of this be the next Mickey? Or will it just be a dud in the sands of time with another horror movie and people just scared to actually use that intellectual property at all? Just my own thoughts of how I think it doesn't matter when most of us were born into this world with Mickey Mouse being ingrained into the DNA of our culture and who it represents because of the fact we deem it so, continuing with such everlasting popularity that will continue long after we all die. It is simply in the history of humanity that we always attach ourselves to older works and apply them to a certain area that has been done and continues to do so, where we just have to live with those facts. And the fact this just won't make any massive change to hurt Disney, at least in this way, rather than the others they have been so comfortable doing to themselves. Because after all, this fuss is just about one cartoon, and not a character that is a mascot for a media empire. So with that said, I'm not going to do anything else with this property other than the fact of this video. I'm all done. Goodbye.